5:10, 0 degrees, windscreen frozen up. Let's head to work. Oh yeah, and it's been snowing. Perfect start. Hi guys, what's happening? Bit different today. I thought rather than doing a going down the road video, I thought I'd talk over a couple of the pros and cons driving HGV. You know, I've been doing it, it's been about 18 months since my first video talking about working for an agency, so I thought I'd give it another little update now while I got a bit of time. Our man's unloading the trailer by here. B&Q today. Bitterly cold day. It's been snowing up until now. It's just stopped snowing now. The mountain looks pretty beautiful over there. I might film a little bit of a time lapse on the way back for the end of the video just to show you the nice snow. Or maybe I'll put the time lapse on and I'll just speak over it. Who knows? I don't know what I'm doing. But anyway, yeah, I thought I'd talk over like the pros and cons, a shorter video about what it's like, you know, on the lorries. So at the start I was very new to it. I'd only worked for one company and what have you, so I thought I'd quickly go over the good and the bad. Same with different agencies, going to be a different story. If you're working full time with people, you might know what you're doing every day. With an agency, you're not going to. So I just thought quite a quick little list of stuff, you know, just so you can get a quick 5-6 minute video on the pros and cons driving HGV1. Well, class 2, same thing goes. I dare say the hours will be very similar. So pros, obviously that's who we want to hear first, isn't it? Good money. There is good money to be earned. I mean, the hourly rates are really nice. When you work for an agency like I do, as an umbrella company over us, there's certain fees involved with that. I could talk about it a bit more on another video if you like. I'm not going to go into it now because it's a lot going on. There's a lot of people. But basically, the umbrella company is who your agency pay. The umbrella company become your employer. They deal with your pension, national insurance stuff. But you've got to pay them fees. You've got to pay their national insurance. You've got to pay their handling fees. There's a lot to go on, but the money, you can earn really good money if you're prepared to stick in loads of hours, and you can earn loads of money. Or you can do less hours and you can still earn good money. You can have a couple of days off a week. That, you know, that's the big plus for me, is I can work 3 days for one, I can work 1 day if I want, I can work 6 days for one if I've got enough hours. So that's one of the main pros, is you can earn a really good wage off it. Another one is, I'd say it's a respected job. I mean, a lot of people moan when they're around lorries and stuff, but on the whole, I'd say it's a respected job when people see what you are lumbering around behind you and where you've got to try and squeeze these big rigs into. I mean, if people put themselves in your position and they had to try and reverse off a main road, blind side, into a gap wide enough to park a car long ways, they'll soon turn around and say, yeah, fair play, drive. So it is a respected job, and it's a skilled job. I mean, you're constantly learning. So that's a pro. It's good when, you know, people sort of respect the fact that you have got a skilled job. It is a hard job. It is a very difficult job, but I enjoy it. There's lots of work about. That's another good thing. I mean, you're seeing loads of strikes and stuff going on with certain companies, and jobs aren't secure. Jobs can go abroad and stuff like that, but with the lorry drivers, we need the lorries on the road, because every single shop is stocked up by a lorry, be it class 1, class 2. I mean, some are stocked up by vans, but further up the line a lorry's involved. So the chances of the lorry driving job disappearing off the face of the earth, I don't think it's going to happen. So there's a lot of work about, and there's going to be lots of work about. So it's a career. It's not a case of grab the money now while we can. There's plenty of work there. It's going to be a much longer running thing. It's not going to disappear. And there's another big pro is the option for training. I mean, I do most of my deliveries to supermarkets. I'm doing B&Q today, but I do like supermarkets, mega stores, that sort of thing. But then you can train and you can say, I want to work on the oil tankers, the petrol tankers, I want to do car transporters. You can train for these things, delivering chemicals, dangerous goods. You might want to go down the docks and deliver containers and shipping or timber. I mean, there's loads of choice. You're not going to get to the point where you're like, oh, you know, if you want to stay in the same place forever. Some people love that. Some people love the same thing over and over. I like this because it's something I know what it's going to be. I know roughly what I'm going to be facing but I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what trailer I'm going to have. I don't know what load. I don't know if I'm going to go down a one-way street in Greater London. I don't know whether I'm going to be driving down to Folkestone. I don't know whether I'm going to Sheffield. So there's enough of a mix in there to keep me excited and keep me on my toes. So I say there's some of the biggest pros. Safe job, respected job, good money. Lots of work available if you want it. It's not all pros. I'd say the cons, first one I'd say is the working hours. They can be brutal. You can start brutally early. You can finish savagely late. I mean, today I started, my shift was 6 o'clock. So I was out of the house at 5 o'clock, scraping ice and defrosting the car to get into work. I got to the yard at 10 to 6. By the time I'd walk around, signed in, it was 6 o'clock. And like I say, a normal day, there's no such thing as a normal day. I mean, if I do less than 12 hours, I'm looking at it as a short day. 15-hour days, they're not unheard of. You can do them quite regularly. I've even had it where I've run out of time. I've ended up stuck in the truck, and it took me 27 hours to do my shift because I've had to sleep in the truck overnight. So that's a big con, the fact that you have one blowout, you're stuck in traffic, or something goes wrong with your timings, and that's it. You're stuck, no man's land. You're sleeping in a cold bloody lorry on some dodgy road in the middle of nowhere, waiting for your 11 hours or 9 hours to tick past so you can just go home. So that's a big con. You won't get that with your office job. So that's a bad side. But touch wood, it's only happened to me once. It's going to happen to me again. It's going to happen to me again. Of course it is. It's bound to happen. I'm early in my career. It's going to happen again. But that is something. There's no 9 till 5. I mean, some companies, drivers claim they know what time they go in, they know what time they finish. Well, that's fine, but they'll probably get bored of their job doing the same thing every day. With me, there's no guarantee. There's also no guarantee on your shifts working with an agency. You're not guaranteed. You might say, I want to work Monday to Friday. They might only have work for you a couple of days. And it might not be when you want it. You might want days. They might only have nights available. So you've got to be flexible. You haven't got that solid, this is what I want to do. Like I only work days. I insist on days and weekdays. And I am getting a fair few shifts. Luckily, I've proved myself with the company we work for. They do like me. They do want me in whenever they can get me in, which is really good. I can be grateful for that, because they are good as gold, and I do try my best, and I do work hard, and I try and turn up presentable. I'm a scruffy, like nothing I can do about that. I'm a Ronda boy, there's nothing I can do about it. But so that's something else you got to think of. It's not a 9 till 5 by any means. Your days can be really, really long. And that adds on to another one of the cons. It can be stressful. It can be a really stressful job, and some of the driving situations can be rough. I mean, if you've had a really long drive and you're stuck in traffic, and then you get down to Greater London and you've got a really difficult reverse manoeuvre, or there's people in the way and there's not much you can do and everyone's beeping and there's no room and you're clogging the road and you've got to get in, it can be really stressful. So bear that in mind. It's not just a case of I'm driving there, I'm going to drive into a huge yard, reverse onto a bay, get unloaded by a forklift truck and then drive home. It can be really stressful. When you get diversions and stuff, I remember when I was working with the other company, I was driving back from London and there'd been an accident on the M4 and they closed it and they diverted all the traffic off the M4. And then one of the side roads we'd been diverted to had a diversion in place, so we got diverted again, and all of a sudden I'm on a road and my sat-nav's going, you can't be on this road, but the diversion is saying this is the way, and that was stressful, and it cost me loads of time. And I got back to the yard with about 5 minutes driving time left, and I had to ditch the trailer there and then, because I didn't even have enough driving time to put the trailer away. So it can be really stressful. It's dangerous as well. It can be dangerous. You're in these big massive things when the winds are hitting you and left and right and centre. So bear that in mind. It can be stressful. It can be dangerous. Like I say, I'm not going to get home. And there's the working regulations. You've got to live by that, taco. If you go over, there's fines that can potentially hit you and stuff. But this is all the worst things that can happen. You work around this, you stay calm, you focus, you plan your day. None of that sort of stuff should happen. So there's the main pros and the cons. I'm sure there's loads more. The biggest con for me is every time I get out of bed in the morning, I'm thinking I wish I was still in bed. But it's fine, go work, and we. But so there's the main pros and cons. But the other things to think of that no one seems to think of, everything's you jump in a lorry, you just get a really nice lorry, bang your radio on, drive down the motorway, get unloaded, drive back, get unloaded, jump in the car, go home, collect a really good wage. You've got to unload the lorry. I mean, there's not many jobs where there's no handballing, like no actually physically handling the stuff yourself. It is physically demanding. Like the trailers I usually do, when they've got the cages on the back, we could be unloading 45 cages, which could be loaded up with paint. And you think how heavy a couple of cans of tins of paint are. Well, you imagine a cage with 50 on, and then you're moving that back and forth. It's not always perfectly level. Sometimes you're pushing up against it. Sometimes the wheels ain't going well, and you have to kind of wrestle stuff into place. So it is physically demanding. It's not a sit down in your lorry, drink cups of coffee and eating donuts and just drive up a motorway like people tend to picture. It's physical work. It's physical work. Well, I'd been out of work for about 2 years when I started on the lorries because of COVID and stuff like that. And I'd put on a bit of weight, like everyone did. And my first 2 weeks in work, I lost 13 pounds just in work. And I was eating more. And just through the physical side of unloading trailers, I lost 13 pounds. That's a stone. So you can't claim it's not physical. So bear that in mind. Some people like the idea of doing it because they think that's easy. Get in, drive down the road in a really cool lorry, not have to do much work and get paid well. It is physically demanding. Keep that in mind. It's hard work. Just trying to wrestle my curtain open this morning on this big trailer. It's hard work. It's heavy, and then you've got to drag the curtains down. And it's not impossible to do. When you've got the ice under feet, like we have this morning, it's demanding. It is physically demanding work. You get a sweat on when it's -2. So bear that in mind. It's not that easy. Sit on my ass, not do any physical work job. That ain't truck driving. Some people are lucky enough to have those runs, but would you want to be that guy who doesn't move at all and just sit in your seat all day, every day, eat loads of food, go home, and you've done no physical work? So bear in mind, it's physical. It is physical. Obviously, there's a lot of responsibility as well. That's the other thing you need to bear in mind. It's a huge amount of responsibility with the job because you could have hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of stock on the back, not to mention the fact you're in a lorry which is probably worth 100,000, maybe more. The trailer's probably worth I don't even know what. So they're sending you out the yards, you could be worth £500,000 and they're sending you 200 miles across the country. It's a lot of responsibility. You've got responsibility for other people's safety on the motorways, on the side streets, on the normal roads, pedestrians, in the yards. There's a lot of responsibility, a huge responsibility. So you've got to bear that in mind. If you don't like the strain of having this responsibility, and if you don't like trying to reverse in central London when there's 250 people trying to watch you and bikes trying to squeeze around the back, it's not for you. It is a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure, and the work schedule can be quite brutal as well, because obviously you go to some of these places, they've only got a very small window where they can unload you or where you can drive into these town centres and stuff like this. There may only be a small window for loading, and that pressure's on you as the driver to get there and make sure you get it right and have your brakes at the right time. So there's a lot of responsibility for the job, but take your time, do your planning, don't rush stuff. It'll work out fine. So yeah, so there's just a couple of little things I like to think of this morning while it's being unloaded. The pros and the cons. But yeah, I suppose one of the other pros is you do get to see some beautiful places. Some of the cons, you get to go some right dives. So balances out. But like I say, there's a lot to think about when you go in for the job. I'd still recommend it to anyone. But there are a few of the things I think you could bear in mind that I don't think I realised quite how physical it would be. I passed my test and did my first day's work out in the trailer with him. We were just dropping off milk, and it was just people coming on the back with a forklift truck on the back of a loaded, like, refrigerated trailer where they was driving on the back. Now my first day out on my own, I get a curtain-sided trailer no one had showed me about, so that was a wake-up call instantly. Went down to a brewery and I had to go on the back, and I was unloading it with a hand pallet. I was sweating conkers, absolutely roasting. I was thinking, I thought the lorry driving was just the driving. I hadn't thought of that bit, so bear it in mind. But no, I like those days now. The days where I don't actually physically do anything, I kind of think, well, I'm going to have to do a couple of weights when I get home or something now, just keep myself bloody supple. So yeah, a couple of little things to keep in mind. Try and keep this video short. Would I still recommend it? Yes. Would I recommend you do a good bit of homework first? Yes. Look into it. Suss out what sort of work you're doing. Suss out who you're working with and what the companies are like. Some companies are trying to push you a bit too far. Other companies, like the one I'm with now, they're good as gold. They're absolutely good as gold. So do your homework. Suss out if it's right for you. And just go for it and take your time. Like I always say, take your time. And I'm sure you'll be absolutely fine. So I hope that was helpful to a couple of people who might actually be thinking about getting into the lorries or changing their career. So yeah, I hope it's helpful to anyone. If you did enjoy it or you did find it helpful, I've got a couple of other videos explaining tachographs, hooking up trailers, and a couple of my day-to-day drives, a couple of difficult driving manoeuvres and parks and stuff like that. So go on over, check them out. They're all on my channel. If you did like it, drop a like. If you don't mind subscribing before you leave, and that would be amazing. Then my videos can get to a few more people. So as it stands, this fella's just putting on the last cage now. I'll have to go out, button up the lorry, and then I'll cruise on back. I might try and film some of these mountains. They're always beautiful, but with the snow on the top, it just makes it look a little bit better, than a little bit more special. So I'll try and film it on the way back, and I might give you a little bit of a time lapse, or I may as even lay it over me talking here. So all the best, everyone. Please drop a like, please subscribe on the way out, and I'll speak to you all on another video, hopefully. So all take care, have a good day, be careful out on that ice.